All right, let's talk about satire. You know, that special kind of humor that's not just funny, it's sharp, it's got a point. For literally centuries, it's been the go-to tool for artists and writers who want to poke fun at the powerful, question the way things are, and yeah, make us all think a little bit while we're laughing. So, to kick things off, I've got a question for you. What in the world do a Victorian opera and, say, a Reddit thread have in common? I know it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? But stick with me, because the answer tells us pretty much everything we need to know about why satire is still so incredibly powerful and, well, popular after all this time. But before we connect those dots, let's just make sure we're on the same page. What is satire exactly? It's a word we throw around a lot, but the definition can be a little slippery. So what it really boils down to is this. Satire is criticism wearing a comedy costume. It's like it takes a giant magnifying glass to all our flaws. You know, the hypocrisy of politicians, crazy social trends, even the silly things we do ourselves, and just blows them up to this massive, unignorable size. And that's the key difference, right? A regular joke just wants a laugh. But satire wants you to laugh, and then it wants you to go, hang on a second, why is that so funny? And man, why does that feel so true? There is always a point, an agenda, hiding behind the punchline. To really see how this works, we've got to go back in time. We're heading to Victorian England to meet two guys who were the undisputed champs of this stuff, W.S. Gilbert and Arthur Sullivan. These two, they were the perfect team. Gilbert was the wordsmith, the guy who came up with these brilliant, hilarious, and super satirical stories. And Sullivan, he was the musical genius, writing these tunes that were so catchy they could make you laugh one minute and feel something real the next. Honestly, they pretty much invented the modern musical. Gilbert's big thing was creating what he called topsy-turvy worlds. He'd start with one totally absurd idea, like what if fairies got involved in Parliament? Or what if pirates were actually just too nice to be pirates? And then he'd just follow that crazy idea to its most logical and therefore most hilarious conclusion. This quote from director Mike Leigh just hits the nail on the head. The humor wasn't some silly slapstick stuff. No, it was dry, it was clever, and it was all delivered with a completely straight face. The funniest part is that the characters in his plays have no idea how ridiculous their situation is, which just makes it even funnier for us in the audience. Okay, so how did they use these absolutely bonkers worlds to say something about their own world? Simple. They turned the stage into a giant mirror, showing Victorian society just how absurd it could be. And this table here gives you a perfect snapshot. I mean, nothing was off limits for these guys. HMS Pinafore completely mocked the whole idea of putting people in charge who have no clue what they're doing. The head of the Navy had never even been on a ship. Iolanthe went after the House of Lords. They were targeting the biggest institutions in the entire British Empire. But they did it so brilliantly and with such great music that everyone loved it. Even the people they were making fun of were lining up to buy tickets. Oh, and this is my favorite part. Their most famous show, The Mikado, is set in Japan. But here's the thing, it has almost nothing to do with Japan. It was a clever trick. By setting it in this exotic location, Gilbert could be even more critical of British politics. The character Pooh Bah, who somehow holds every single important government job at once, well, as the writer G.K. Chesterton put it, he wasn't just satire, he was the truth about the English ruling class. And people couldn't get enough. This wasn't some artsy niche thing. This was the Avengers' endgame of its day. They had hit after hit after hit. They absolutely dominated the London stage and became a global phenomenon. So Gilbert and Sullivan were the kings of their era, no question. But what about now? Are we still into this kind of sharp, witty commentary? Is humor still one of our favorite ways to pick apart the world? To figure that out, we went to what might be the modern version of a public square, Reddit. We found a thread where people were just listing the best satire books they'd ever read. It's a fantastic little window into what's clicking with people today. So who took the top spot? It was Joseph Heller's Catch-22, an absolutely brilliant takedown of war and bureaucracy. You know, a theme Gilbert and Sullivan would have loved. And look at the other top picks, Gulliver's Travels and Candide. These books are hundreds of years old. It just proves that making fun of the absurdities of our institutions never, ever goes out of style. And of course, the list was packed with modern giants like Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams. I mean, think about it. Gilbert used a fake Japan to talk about England. These guys use fantasy and sci-fi worlds to talk about very real, very human problems. The thread that runs through all of these, old and new, is the same. They're smart, they're witty, and they're not afraid to be a little disrespectful. So what's the big takeaway here? After this little trip from a Victorian theater to a subreddit, what have we learned? Why is satire still around? It's because the mission, the goal, has never changed. It doesn't matter if it's Gilbert creating a topsy-turvy world to make fun of the British class system, or Joseph Heller creating the insane logic of Catch-22 to show the madness of war. The goal is the same. You expose absurdity by creating even more absurdity. It all comes down to this simple 4-step formula that's been working for centuries. Step 1, find something wrong with the world. Step 2, blow it up until it's just completely ridiculous. Step 3, make people laugh. And then step 4, and this is the important one. In that moment after the laugh, make them think. That's the real magic right there. For way more than 150 years, ever since Gilbert and Sullivan first put those crazy worlds on stage, this formula has been one of the best and, let's be honest, one of the most fun ways to speak truth to power. It gets you to lower your defenses with a good laugh, right before it hits you with a hard truth. So I'll just leave you with this. If satire's whole job is to use laughter to shine a light on uncomfortable truths, what are the truths we really need to be laughing about today? What parts of our world are just waiting for the next Gilbert and Sullivan to come along, turn everything upside down, and show us what's really going on?